Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, training program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. You can also DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, we have quite a few questions to get through for this week, so let's get started with question number one from this week's No Filter Q&A. All right. Hi, Nick. In your opinion, what is the best time of day to work out? Best time of day to work out is a time that works best for you. Okay. I know there's people out there that will say the best time to work out is first thing in the morning because your body's in a rested state and you have the most energy, and you can burn the most amount of calories if you train in a fasted state. And look, at the end of the day, it really comes down to your lifestyle and what type of person you are. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Some people find that they train better in the evening versus the morning, right? What's your work schedule like? If you don't start work till say 3 or 4 in the afternoon, you're not going to want to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Most likely, like say you work in the restaurant industry, right? I have a few clients that work in the restaurant industry. They get off work at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. They're not going to come to my 6 a.m. group class. That's not going to happen. So they tend to work better more in the later afternoon, right? I have a few clients that are 9 to 5 people, and even though they like to wake up around 7:38 in the morning, they're not going to have time to train, so they train after work. So there's no particular time that works better. You have to kind of find the time slot that works better for you. For myself personally, I found over the years that I don't work out at any particular time better than the other. With my schedule, it's all over the place. So sometimes I'll work out at 9 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'll work out at 9 o'clock at night. The one thing I do notice, though, for me, is that when I tend to work out later on in the day, my strength is better because I've consumed more calories. So if I work out at 9 o'clock in the morning, I may have only had 1 or 2 meals. If I work out at 9 o'clock at night, by then I've had about 7 or 8 meals. So I have more carbohydrates, more fats, more calories, more water. So I notice I'm a little bit stronger. But at the same time, when I work out earlier in the day on less food, I notice my intensity in the gym is a little bit higher. So I move a little quicker. I don't have those calories slowing me down. So I like both. I like to mix it up. So sometimes I'll work out early morning, sometimes I'll work out late afternoon, sometimes I'll work out in the early evening. So I've never found that there's one specific time slot that works better for me. But for you, you've got to kind of find the formula that works best with your work schedule and your lifestyle. But don't fall into that, oh, you should wake up at 5 a.m. every day and get that workout at 6 o'clock. If that doesn't work for your schedule, don't worry about it. Work it at night. I promise you, it's not going to impact your results. Now, if we're talking about cardiovascular and you say you're trying to lose weight and you're doing cardio, that's a different story. In that case, I do recommend, if you're trying to lose weight and you're incorporating more cardio into your program, the optimal times to do cardio is either first thing in the morning in a fasted state or immediately after your workout. So you've burned out those carbohydrates, those fats, proteins, calories, so that you're using fat as your primary fuel source. I've spoken about that before, so I'm not going to go into great detail with that. But when it comes to training with weights, pick the time of day that works best for you based on your schedule, your work schedule, your lifestyle, your energy levels, and stick with it. And then if you have to, mix it up every now and then, but I would try to stay as fairly consistent as you can with your workout schedule. If you have a job like mine where it's all over the place, you kind of have to strategically plan your meals around that. But if you're able to get your workouts in on a regular basis at either morning, mid-afternoon, night, I would try to stick on a fairly consistent schedule for your training, just so that there's no shock value to coming into your workout. There's no surprises. You're not going to feel one day, why am I weaker? Why am I stronger? So that's the only thing I'd recommend. If you can, stay consistent with the times of day that you train at. Next question. Nick, roughly how long should my workouts be if I want to build muscle? Not that long at all. My workouts are no more than 45 minutes. Leg workouts are sometimes about 60 minutes, a little bit more. And that's just because I tend to rest a little bit longer in between sets when I train legs, as most people do. But it's not about the duration of the workout, it's the intensity of the workout. So there's people that say they're in the gym for 2 hours. So they're not training for 2 hours. They're cruising Instagram. I've talked about this before. They're cruising Instagram. They're updating their Facebook status. They're taking selfies. They're talking to their neighbor. They're not really training. If you're training with the utmost amount of intensity, there's no way that you're going to be able to go more than an hour. No, it's not going to happen. So what I try to tell people that I work with is keep your intensity high and your duration low. So most people I work with, they work with me for an hour. And during that time, as I mentioned before in previous Q&As, we get anywhere from 42 to 48 sets in that workout. So to give you an idea, they're averaging a set a minute, pretty much, right? Very little rest. So it's not about how long you're in the gym, it's what you're doing in the gym that matters. Okay. So if you can only spend 30 minutes in the gym because you've got a really busy work schedule and you got to take the kids to school and all this stuff, that's fine. Get to the gym for 30 minutes, but then again, go balls to the wall, focus in, no distractions. When you're resting, you're not looking at your phone constantly. You're just focused on your next set. And I promise you, if you train like that, you're going to get the best results. Being in the gym for a long period of time, taking 3-4 minutes in between sets, looking at your phone, talking to your gym neighbors, you're not going to get any results from doing that. So high intensity, low duration, in my opinion, that's the optimal way to achieve results. Okay, next question. Nick, I get so bored when I work out. Do you have any tips on what I can do in the gym to keep things interesting? Well, okay, going to the gym is not exhilarating. It's not like you're going to a movie or you're going to a party or you're going to work out. It's not supposed to be fun, right? It's something that you do for your body, you do for your health, you do for your mental health, you do for your physical health. It's not supposed to be this like great time that you're having. But at the same time, what I find works with people that I work with, so that they don't fall into that stale routine, is mix up your training program. Add in some new exercises, change up the sequences of your exercises. If you always train legs on a Monday, well, why not train them on a Tuesday or Wednesday? Mix up your training split a little bit, have some variety in your program. If you're always doing the exact same order of exercises, switch it up. It still should make sense, but switch it up. I've mentioned this before, is sometimes in my leg workouts, I usually like to start with barbell back squats, but sometimes I'll finish my leg workouts with barbell back squats just to mix up the order and just to actually challenge my body more. And I mentioned this last week on last week's Q&As. If I throw squats in at the end of my workout, I'm not going to lift nearly as much weight as I would at the beginning of my workout, but it's a challenge for my legs in a different way because now my legs are pre-exhausted. They've got to find a way to get that weight back up. So not only is that going to stimulate more muscle growth, it's going to keep things fresh in the workouts. But again, it's not supposed to be like a party. You're not going to a party. You're going to the gym to work out. It should be done for the most part in a serious manner. You should be focusing on your next set. Okay, how am I going to get through this exercise? How does this feel? Am I feeling this exercise today? Do I need to change up the exercise? These are all things that should be going in your head, on in your head. It's like going to work. Work is not always fun. Maybe for some people it is, but work is not always fun. But you do it because you're supposed to do it. And hey, let's face it, a lot of us have to work to make a living, right? So you just do it. So working out, really, in my opinion, it's not always going to be fun. And when I have people saying working out should be fun, I disagree with that. Working out sometimes it can be fun, but I've never gone to the gym looking for a good time. That's never happened. I'm usually, for example, again, bringing up leg day, I usually have full-on anxiety for my leg workouts. They're not fun. They scare the shit out of me. My leg workouts scare the shit out of me. Actually, my leg workouts scare the shit out of most people that I train. And that's the way, in my opinion, again, you should feel. Going to the gym, you say, okay, I got to focus here. I'm lifting heavy weights here. I'm going to train with intensity. I don't want to get injured, so I need to zone in and focus. Save the good time for after the workout, right? Go hang out with your friends, go to a bar, go to a restaurant, whatever, go to the beach. But when you're working out, for the most part, it should be done in a serious manner, and you shouldn't be looking for ways to make working out exciting, okay? As I said, best advice I can give you, mix up your workouts a little bit, change up your sequences, change up your training split, add some different combinations in for muscle bellies, try some supersets, some trisets, some giant sets, mix it up constantly, maybe even add in some new exercises or find a training partner, train with some different people, hire a personal trainer. These are all options you can do to keep things fresh. I wouldn't say it's going to be exciting and fun though, but it's just something to, stop you from getting constantly the everyday boredom of going back and forth to the gym, lifting weights, putting down, going home and repeat. So that will help keep things fresh. As far as keeping things fun and exciting, probably not, no. All right. Question 4. Hi, Nick. What's the best diet to follow if I want to lose fat quickly? The best diet to follow is a diet that is sustainable. Because in reality, any diet that you go on is going to work. Whether it's keto, whether it's if it fits your macros diet, whether it's self-beach, whether it's intermittent fasting, all these diets will work short term. The thing is, when people go on a diet, what they usually go into is a caloric deficit. So when that happens, they go from eating pretty sloppy, say they're eating takeout all the time, they're having their burgers and fries, they're having pizza, they're having a muffin in the morning for breakfast, and they start cleaning up that diet a little bit because they go on a new diet plan. And that new diet plan usually puts them into somewhat of a caloric deficit. So of course you're going to lose weight. The problem though is when you go into a severe caloric deficit, or you start taking out certain macronutrients, like with keto, they take out carbohydrates, your body becomes very, very accustomed to that nutritional plan very quickly. So what happens is when you come off that diet, so let's say you go on keto for 16 weeks and now you've lost 40 pounds, right? You're looking great, 40 pounds lost. What happens when you come off that diet and you start reintroducing carbohydrates into your plan? Well, your body's become so sensitive to carbohydrates, it doesn't know what to do. So it soaks them up. And it slows, your metabolism is slowed down to digestion of carbohydrates. So it becomes easier to put on that weight again. That's why I don't recommend going on these fad diets. Intermittent fasting, I've spoken about this before. I believe it is a healthy diet to follow, not an optimal diet to follow if you are trying to build muscle and lose fat though. But it is a very healthy diet to follow overall. But the same thing is, it's just like the keto diet and the self-beach diet. It's not sustainable. I know very few people who can stay on an intermittent fasted diet for 2-3 years. I know people that can do it for a few months, but then life gets in the way. What are you going to do? You're going to go for brunch one day and say to your friends, oh, I'm sorry, I can't eat because I can't eat till another 6 or 7 hours. It's not an ideal diet plan to follow. So this goes back to following a plan that is sustainable. So this is where it comes into working with either a good coach or a good nutritionist, dietitian that can actually customize a nutritional plan for you based on your goals and, more importantly, based on your lifestyle, because it has to fit into your lifestyle, right? If you're someone that says, I'm not hungry in the morning, I don't like to eat till about 12 o'clock. I work with people like that all the time. And I said, that's fine. You don't have to eat till 12 o'clock, but I want you to get meal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within at least a 12-hour period. Right? So it's almost a form of intermittent fasting, but I don't call it that. So you can eat those meals whenever you want, as long as you get them in within a 24-hour period. And that's what I generally do with most of my clients who work with me on their nutritional plans. I'll give them, let's say, 6 or 7 meals to consume throughout the day. And I'll say, I don't care when you eat those meals. Hell, you can put them all in a 3-hour period if you want. You're probably going to have some digestive issues if you do that, but you can do it. And what I find that works really well for people because it gives them more flexibility and the diet is more realistic and therefore it becomes more sustainable. So that's the most important component when putting together a nutritional plan that is sustainable. As I said, any diet plan will work in the beginning, but if you talk to most people who go on these fad diets, after 6-7 months, they come off the diet, they usually put the weight back on. And in most cases, they usually put more weight back on because depending on the diet that they were on and how extreme it was, a lot of times they really mess up their metabolism and they screw up their metabolic rate. So that's why I don't recommend fad diets. Focus, again, as I said, a diet that's sustainable and realistic and that you like. Incorporate foods that you like. Work with someone that can, you can talk about, okay, well, we can't have this, but we can have this, right? It doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be tasteless. There's ways to make your food taste good. So dieting doesn't have to be difficult. I think people try to make it more difficult than it has to be, and it really doesn't have to be. It really that's just down to calories in versus calories out, and at the same time, making sure you're balancing your macronutrients accordingly, okay? So best diet plan to follow is one that's realistic and sustainable. Nick, will I achieve quicker results if I work out every day? No, you most certainly will not. If you work out every day, you're most likely going to overtrain your body, overtax your central nervous system, and you risk suffering from severe adrenal fatigue. Take it from someone who has done that, who has attempted to train every day. I tried to do that when I was younger. I thought, well, if I train more, I'm going to get better results. I tended to ignore the whole theory behind overtraining because I always thought most people undertrain. And I still believe that to this day. I think most people don't exercise enough. But if you're someone who loves going to the gym and you do enjoy working out, it can become quite addictive, right? I wrote about that in one of my blogs this week, actually, about how exercise can become a problem and it can actually become an unhealthy addiction, right? So you have to be careful with how much you exercise. So a good rule of thumb I use for a lot of my clients who really enjoy going to the gym, and if it were up to them, they would see me 7 days a week. I'll put them on a 5 or 6 day plan. I'll say, I don't care what day of the week you take off, but every 7 days, I need you to take at least 1 day off. And that usually works well for most people. Most people work a 5 day week, and then they have 2 days off, and they like to take 1 day off, whether it's a weekend day off or maybe they have a really busy day at work. For me, Fridays are my busiest day of the week, so I'll typically take Fridays off from the gym. I won't work out myself. That's usually my day off. There have been times where I've had to change that based on my schedule, but for the most part, I try to stay fairly consistent with taking every Friday off, just so I had that 1 day of rest in the week. And how you design your training split too, like that's super important. If you're on a 6 day training split, what I generally recommend to people is you train one muscle group each day. So, chest day 1, back day 2, shoulders day 3, bis and tris day 4, quads day 5, hamstrings, glutes day 6, and then you take day 7 off. If you're on a 3 or 4 day training split, that would change, obviously. But I think if you're training every day, as I said, you're just going to overtax your central nervous system. You're going to eventually suffer from extreme adrenal fatigue, and the muscles are just not going to respond. I mean, if your muscles are too tired to lift, they're not going to respond. And then you risk injury as well. So my recommendation, if you're someone who really enjoys going to the gym and wants to work out all the time, what I would do then is go on a 6 day training split with the weights. And if you still want to do something on that 7th day, do some extra cardio. Go for an extra long walk. Here in Vancouver, we got the seawall. Go for a 2-3 hour walk. That's fine. But just give your body at least 1 full day off from training weights. I think that's very important. So if don't train every day. It's a bad idea. As I said, I attempted it years ago when I was younger, in my early 20s, and I did not. I think I actually probably regress. I didn't remember my progress, and I think I moved backwards with my training. I got weaker. I actually got injured. So these are things don't do. Take it from me. Lesson learned. Don't train every day. I promise you're not going to get better results. Okay. Oh, this was a good question. This one came in last night. I was reading it, came in through my Instagram. So, Nick, how did Nicole Kidman, get so jacked at 55 years old? As a woman, I personally think she's too muscular, but was wondering if you know how she did it. I don't know Nicole Kidman's training program or her training split or her nutritional plan. I'm sure you could probably find it somewhere online, but I don't really care. But I do have this theory as to why women, when they get past a certain age, put on more muscle. So if you look at a lot of women, once they get over, say, 45, 50 years old and they start training with weights, you start to notice they get a little bit more roundness in their muscle bellies. The muscles become a little bit more dense and harder. There's a little bit more vascularity as well. And I notice this quite a bit, especially working with women who compete in fitness competitions. And especially when I look at like the Grandmasters class, the women over 40 plus years old, for example, I start to notice these women are putting on some serious muscle, much more than the women who are in their 20s and their 30s. Now, my theory behind this is as women get older, estrogen levels start to decrease slightly. Now, with estrogen levels getting lower, you start to balance out that testosterone a little bit, becomes easier to put on more muscle. Now, again, this is my theory behind this because I've seen it happen so often, even with clients I train who don't even compete. When I work with women in their 50s, I notice they put on muscle quite quickly, and it's quite visible. So Nicole Kidman, 55 years old, putting on this type of muscle, it doesn't really shock me. Same thing, go back to when Madonna was putting on that muscle a few years ago. Doesn't really shock me. I think there's something to be said about muscle maturity. And a lot of these people have been training throughout, especially if they're celebrities. A lot of them have been training in their 30s and 40s. And now that they're in their 50s, maybe they're not necessarily training more, but the muscles are becoming more developed now. As I said, harder, more dense, more round. And that usually has to do with estrogen, right? The estrogen does get lower as you get older as women, right? So that's my theory. I believe that's the reason. I don't think she's doing anything crazy or some intense workout course. I'm sure she's training intensely, but I don't think it's something new. I think she's been training her whole life, and now that muscle maturity is there, and it's really starting to show. And even if someone's new to weights in their 50s, and it's a woman, I work with a lot of women in their 50s, and I tell you, like within 3 or 4 months, I start to see muscle coming out. I'm like, wow, I can see the shows. And to me, muscle on women, this is my personal opinion. I think muscle on women looks great. I do. I know a lot of women don't want to have that big, bulky look, and I understand that. I'm talking about that lean, solid tone muscle. And that's what Nicole Kidman has now. When my client sent me a photo of Nicole Kidman, I was like, wow, she looks great. I think she looks great. I don't think she looks over muscular. She's not on anabolic steroids. I can tell you that right now. I can just tell by looking at the physique. She's natural. Okay. So she's not, before people start saying Nicole Kidman on steroids. I don't think so. I Google female bodybuilders and you'll see what they look like on steroids. I think she just trains hard. She's training intensely and she's 55 years old. So the estrogen levels are lower. And the ability to put on muscle becomes more quicker and more efficient to build muscle. And genetics too, I mean, she's very lean. So when she puts on muscle, you're going to see that. The leaner you are, the easier it is to see that muscularity, right? If you have a layer of body fat covering your triceps, your biceps, it's very hard to see that muscle belly, that dense muscle belly, the roundness. But as you lose that body fat, you can really see those muscles popping out. So that's why I think she's been able to put on that type of muscle. And I personally think it looks great. If you haven't seen it, Google a recent photo of Nicole Kidman. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I personally think it looks great. Muscle on women, in my opinion, fantastic. Okay. Next question. Okay. Hi, Nick. Whenever I eat close to bedtime, I find it really difficult to fall asleep and wake up feeling exhausted. Yet if I eat at 2 to 3 hours before bed, I fall asleep instantly and wake up feeling rested. Could you please explain to me why this happens? Yeah, that's very common. So the problem is if you eat too close to the time you go to bed, your body is digesting that food, right? So it's very hard for your body to relax and shut down when it's digesting food already in your system. So that's why I usually recommend to most people to cut their last meal 2 to 3 hours before they go to bed. Just for that reason, right? And what I find works really well is if you wake up in the morning and you're a little bit hungry, that's a good sign. I know there's some people say, I'm never hungry. The people that are never hungry in the morning, though, are usually the people that tend to eat late at night. And those are the people that they'll eat like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, or they'll eat right before they go to bed. And then, yeah, they're not hungry the next day. And I don't think that's a good way to program your nutritional plan, because what happens is when your body is digesting food, of course, it's not resting. It's digesting food in your system. So you can't have a good night's sleep because it's not rested. So it's better to eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep so you can get that rested sleep, right? So I wouldn't recommend eating too late at night. And it has nothing to do with putting on weight or any of that garbage. It's purely because you have to give your digestive tract a break. You have to give it some time to digest. So what I'll typically do, I might have my last meal. I usually go to bed around 11 o'clock if I can. So I'll have my last meal around 8 o'clock at night, and I'll get ready and maybe answer a few more emails, clean up, wash my face, brush my teeth, have a shower. And then I just go to bed and I sleep fine. On the off chance that I have to eat late at night, maybe I finish work late and I have to get up really early in the morning again. There have been times where I'll eat at 10:30 at night and go to bed at 11, and it sucks because I know I'm not going to sleep well. I wake up, I'm really tired. And again, I think it's just because my body is digesting that food while I'm trying to sleep. So I would strongly advise you, if you can, to try to keep your last meal at least 2, possibly 3 hours before you hit the bed. And I like I said, I believe that's the reason why most people have problems sleeping at night if they eat too close to bed. And then they wake up and they're not hungry, and it creates this, then they eat later on in the day, then their blood sugar levels crash, their insulin levels rise, and it's a chain reaction. So that's why it's good to get on a consistent, just like a training program, it's good to get on a consistent eating schedule. Obviously, there's going to be times that you go out for dinner or something, or, work gets in the way, you're going to have to eat at a different time. But for the most part, I always try to tell my clients, you should be trying to eat on a fairly consistent schedule throughout the day. Don't care what time of day you eat, but you should be trying to eat fairly consistent. And then if you can, cut that last meal maybe 2, if you can, 3 hours before you go to sleep. And it should work well for most people. Okay. Nick, I saw one of your clients' progress photos in one of your Instagram stories this week. I'm curious as to how often she's working with you each week to get results like that. The client you're referring to, I think you're referring to, she trains with me right now 4 times a week. And what we do is we have 2 lower body days and 2 upper body days. Now, just because she's training with me 4 times a week doesn't mean that's why she's achieved those results. She also follows a really good, solid nutritional plan. And outside of me seeing me, she does 2 workouts on her own. So she's actually training 6 days a week. And then she has 1 day where she takes a full day off. So, that's what her schedule allows her to do. And also the workouts that she does with me are 45-minute workouts. She's one of my clients that only works out with me 45 minutes each time. She doesn't do 60-minute workouts. So 45 minutes, we go in, we do our 2 lower body workouts or 2 upper body workouts. She does 2 group classes and 2 private sessions. So it doesn't mean that you're going to get results like her if you train 4 days a week, but it's what you do in your workouts. Okay. Again, this comes down to the intensity of your workouts. And she trains super intense. She's trained super heavy. And if you looked at my Instagram stories this week and you saw me post a photo of her, she's not overly muscular. She's got some good muscle definition on her for sure, but she's not overly muscular at all. And this is also someone who's had 2 kids. So it can be done. People who use this excuse, well, I've had a kid. No. That's not an excuse. She's had 2 kids. And also people say, well, she's young. I mean, she's not old, but she's now, I believe, 42. So she's not like someone in her 20s, right? So it's just, again, following a clean diet, training consistently. There's no magic trick here. I don't, like I said, I never take credit for any of my clients' results. I can only provide my clients with the tools they need to take them to the next level, but I can't do the work for them. So that's why I, as a trainer, coach, I never take credit for my clients' results. Even when they tag me on Instagram or Facebook, I say, thank you, but you guys deserve the credit, not me. I'm just providing the tools along the way, giving you my advice, my opinion, where we should go next, my recommendation, how we should design your training split, your nutritional plan. And that's why sometimes it helps to have a coach in your corner, because it's always good to have a second set of eyes, especially if those eyes are experienced. And I've been doing this for 20 years now, so I have a good idea as to how to help someone lose fat, build muscle based on their genetics, their gender, their training experience, their lifestyle. That all helps. Obviously, if I'm working with a new client, there's some troubleshooting here. And I always tell people that to give me some time to learn your body. But once I figure out a formula that works for that individual, we stick with it, ride it out, and the results just come in. So yeah, she's in the gym 4 days a week with me, twice on her own. Workouts are no more than 45 minutes, following a clean diet, 7 days a week. I have her on, I believe, 2 cheat meals a week right now. So that's it. No secrets. That's it. All right, next question. Nick, do you think people who spend too much time working on their bodies are a bit vain and insecure? I've always refrained from dating muscular guys as I think they're a bit douchey and full of themselves. No offense to you. No offense taken. Okay. So, yes and no. There are some people on my Instagram, every photo is a topless photo or a butt photo, or here's my current weight, here's my current condition, and they're on these fitness journeys. And oh my God, yeah, okay, those people, in my opinion, is too much. Yes, if you're constantly talking about your body and you're showing pictures of your body and look at me, I'm in the gym, and it gets too much, it's too extreme. So I could see have someone who is not really into the gym, or even someone who is into the gym, that could be a little bit off-putting, right? Like, for some people, it can even be intimidating. They'd be like, okay, you're too much for me. But for some people, it's like, there's more to life than the gym, right? So even myself, I mean, my job in the fitness industry is to promote health and fitness. So of course, if you go on my Instagram, I'm going to be promoting nutritional plans, training programs, exercises, like, how to perform proper form and technique in the gym. But that's also because that's my company page. So I'm representing my brand, my business. But on a personal scale, I mean, I don't live in the gym. I train 6 days a week, 45-minute sessions. That's it. I think you need to be there. I don't think there's anything wrong with being muscular. I don't think that looks douchey either. To me, when I see someone who's in good physical health and has great aesthetics, they're in good shape. To me, that represents discipline. When I look at someone who's overweight, who just obviously doesn't take care of themselves, to me, that just looks sloppy. And it's really hard. And we don't mean to judge people, but let's face it, we all judge each other, especially on first impressions. So whenever I meet someone and I see that they're in good shape, and I'm not saying they have to have ripped abs or bulging biceps or anything like that. So they're in good shape, good physical health. Their fitness level looks good. They look like they just look like they take care of themselves. To me, that shows discipline, right? And I respect discipline. I don't respect people who aren't disciplined. I don't. So to answer that question, I can see what you're talking about, because I know there's a lot of, and not just guys, there's some women too, where it's too much with the gym. I have some women on my Instagram. It's just like, I've actually taken people off my Instagram because I can't take it anymore. It's too much. Every day, a gym selfie, look at my butt, and they're looking for validation from strangers. And it's just like, it's enough is enough. And the guys are just as bad, right? These shirtless photos. I mean, put your shirt on in one photo. I have a few photos on my Instagram with my shirt off, but it's not every photo. I think I probably have, of all my photos, and there's over 1,000 of them, I might have 3 or 4 shirtless photos. And most of those are from when I competed, right? So do I think people who are obsessed with their bodies are a little vain and insecure? Probably, yeah. But I don't think looking too muscular or in shape or just being overall fit and healthy, no, I don't think that makes someone a douchebag. Absolutely not. I think it's important to take care of your physical appearance. I really do. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've even said to some of my clients, if vanity gets you into the gym, great, but that can't be your only goal. You have to have a long-term goal, because we're all going to get older, right? Things are going to happen. You're going to age. So there's only so much surgeries, Botox, fillers, lip injections, nose jobs that you can do. You're going to age. Okay, so the best thing you can do is try to keep yourself in shape by going to the gym, doing things naturally, following that clean diet we spoke about earlier. But again, yeah, I can understand where this person's coming from, because dating someone who, like a big muscular guy who's obsessed with going to the gym and counting every single macronutrient, personally, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to date a woman like that. So I can see how it would come across a little douchey. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being fit and in shape and having a bit of muscle mass on you. I know a lot of guys who have a lot of muscle, and they're the nicest guys. They're intelligent. They've got good jobs. One of my clients, he's 63 years old. He's a lawyer. He competes in bodybuilding shows. I mean, he's not a douchebag. So I don't think we can stereotype everybody as just because they're a muscular guy or a really in shape woman that they're necessarily a douchebag, right? We can't say that. But for those that are constantly posting gym selfies and progress photos, and they're on these goddamn fitness journeys, yes, they are full on douchebags. All right. Last question. Hi, Nick. Do you ever experience chafing due to having larger thighs? I've experienced it a few times this summer and tried using both Pantene and Vaseline, but neither seemed to work. Do you have any recommendations, as it's really painful and awkward to walk with? Burning in between your thighs. Yeah, I've dealt with that quite a bit, and I dealt with it for years, and it's really painful. And it's super common for people with larger legs, and especially in the summer, you get heat rash. Things get hot and sweaty down there, especially when you're working out. So there's a few things that I've done over the years that have helped with that significantly. One is, if you're a guy, the type of boxers you wear. I recommend to all my male clients to wear Saks boxers. They're a little bit more expensive. They're about $40, $45 a pair, but I promise you they're worth it. They work really well. They just give you that extra support in between your thighs. So if you're someone who does lift weights and you have bigger legs, you know what I'm talking about. Those underwear work really well. Things like Joe boxers, or they rip too easily, cheap. I wouldn't recommend that. So I'd recommend, first off, get good pairs of underwear, preferably boxers. They work really well. Second thing, don't use Pantene or Vaseline. That's not really going to help, but I might actually have something in my desk here. Let's check here. Something I use, let me find it. But hydrocortisone cream, I have some here. Where is it? Right here. Yeah. So see, I always have it on me. So hydrocortisone cream. This works really well. That just put a little bit on there in like a 15 milligram little tab of it. It contains just 5 grams of hydrocortisone cream. It's really, really effective. You just dab a little bit on in between your thighs, and it works really well. You can get that at London Drugs or Shoppers Drug Mart. Sorry, I'm just going off again. But hydrocortisone cream is going to work really well in that area. And what I usually do with that is I'll put it on. I don't use it all the time. You shouldn't use it all the time. The maximum is twice a day, only for a short period of time. It's very strong stuff. But use it if you start to feel that chafing coming on. Just dab a little bit on. Just needs a little bit, goes a long way, I promise you, and it'll clear it up instantly. It works really well. I'll put a link in the description below too where you can find that. But London Drugs, Shoppers Drug Mart, Amazon. It's super easy, super cheap to get. Comes in 15 milligram tubes and just 5 milligrams of the cortisone cream itself. It works really well. So yeah, I recommend that. Vaseline is messy, and I think Vaseline, I don't personally like Vaseline. I find Vaseline actually causes breakouts. I've used Vaseline before, I think in my 20s, and it caused breakouts in my legs, so I don't use that at all. And Pantene, I think, is more for like, for like rash, like baby rash, right? So you're not really dealing with rash, you're dealing with chafing. So I find dealing with chafing is a little bit different than dealing with a rash. Chafing is very similar to maybe like a heat rash, but it's not a full-on rash. So I find the hydrocortisone cream works really well. So try using that, and definitely don't use the Vaseline, and I wouldn't use the Pantene either. That's pretty dirty, messy stuff. And that should work. But yeah, don't stop training your legs. So if your legs are big, that's a good thing, right? I think big legs on guys or women, I think it looks great. It shows that you train your legs hard. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Thursday afternoon. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me your questions on my Instagram account at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.